Furina is a paid actor. The Genshin story just got crazier and the 4.2 trailer had everyone shaking in their seats. Hello everyone, I'm Valeria Hawthorn, and in this video I will attempt to analyze and break down the trailer, point out some details you may have missed, try and piece everything together, and sprinkle in a little bit of theories. It's important to know that some of the scenes in the trailer take place during Furina's story quest and some of them during the world quests. So it's not all from the Arcana quest. Whoever likes to deceive us with the way they piece everything together, so not even the voice lines we hear correspond to what we're seeing on screen, nor they are in any kind of chronological order. So with that out of the way, let's begin. Let's start off with the obvious. Furina, or rather Focalor, is going to die. That much is clear, we know that, it's just gonna happen. In my previous video about the 4.1 trailer and breakdown, I mentioned that I believe there's two Furinas. It seems like that really may be the case. From the very first line in the trailer, we can notice that Nuvillet refers to her as the Hydro Archon, and usually he addresses as Lady Furina instead.
The Hydro Archon, to be punished via the death sentence.
So, Furina will live, she will survive, but the Hydro Archon, Focalor, is going to die. This is my guess. I previously stated that I believe that a part of Furina, we can assume that part is Focalor, is inside the Oratrice together with the Gnosis. I also mentioned the many parallels to Christianity and Christian references all throughout Fontaine, and how Furina, Focalor, and Nuvillet make up the Holy Trinity in a way. So it's not too far-fetched to say that Focalor will sacrifice herself for the sins of the Fontainians in order to save them. She usually refers to herself as I, the goddess Focalor, but this time we hear her addressing herself as I, Furina, instead, further implying that she's separate from Focalor and that Focalor will die.
I, Furina!
In the trailer, it was implied that Focalor is going to be executed with a guillotine, but I don't think that will be the case. We see a giant hydro-shaped guillotine looking like a sword descending from the sky. However, that place doesn't look like the Opera Picles. It also doesn't really look like the tower in the new area we're about to get. So all of this may be taking place somewhere else. So I don't think that's how they're gonna execute Focalor. And I also believed that they're going to stop using the Oratrice and potentially even destroy it, and here's a couple of things to back this up. In the trailer, we hear Focalor bidding farewell to Nuvillet.
Farewell, Nuvillet. I hope you've enjoyed the part you played these 500 years.
I believe that is the Oratrice or the Focalor inside of the Oratrice bidding farewell, as it's about to stop existing. Focalor is about to get executed, or maybe it's just gonna be the Oratrice getting executed. Or at the very least, it's gonna stop functioning. And one thing I noticed in Nuvillet's character demo, we see him and Furina inside of the Opera Picles, but the Oratrice is not there. What's up with that? Did they just forget to include it in the trailer, or was it not put out for whatever reason? Or was the scene we see from before the Oratrice was even created? Because Nuvillet mentions that all of this is merely just a prelude for what's to come, or does it take place after it had been destroyed? Although that might be unlikely, as we can hear Furina talking about trials and saying that no trial can be sufficiently dramatic if it's too short. And speaking of a length of a trial and it being dramatic, in the trailer, she says that all will end in a magnificent and dramatic trial. A trial that has been going on for possibly 500 years now. I believe she has been preparing for this moment all this time and essentially planning her own death and sacrifice for 500 years, perhaps. And maybe after this sacrifice happens, she'll get to reconnect with her other self, or rather the other part of her soul, since we can see that playable Furina is both Numa and Lucia aligned, and when she switches between states, her appearance also changes, from having white and brighter clothes and long hair to having darker clothes and short hair. And it's also interesting to point out the fact that she has a vision, which is most likely very, very real. Since Nuvillet finds the prospect of other Archons using fake visions absolutely hilarious, so we can guess that this vision is real. And maybe she gains it after Focalor dies. And in this way, she separates herself from godhood and Celestia. And I also thought, imagine she just trolls everyone and gets some darker clothes, cuts her hair, and attends her own funeral like this. And it's like, hey bestie, I lived. That's probably not gonna happen, but I thought it might be funny. So, Furina has a vision all of a sudden. We can guess that she separates herself from godhood and Celestia, In which case, what happens with the Gnosis? Well, it has been hinted in Nuvillet's final Ascension voice line that he will regain all of his powers.
Now that I have reclaimed one of the 7 authorities from the hands of the usurpers, I have regained my true form. I am now a fully fledged dragon, powerful enough to judge the rest of the gods.
So we can assume that when Focalor sacrifices herself, Nuvillet will obtain the Gnosis, restore his full powers, and in doing so protect Fontaine. He'll be powerful enough to judge even the gods, and even go after the usurper king in the heavens. He's coming for Celestia and I'm all here for it, baby. He'll start by judging Furina, Focalor, and that would be the true meaning of justice, that even the gods can be judged and can't escape their fate. Which is also mentioned in the description of the Hydro Gemstone, which was included in the live stream as well. It was just posted there like, oh, here, by the way, read my description. It goes as follows. My ideals have no stains. I must correct you. People here bear no sins in the eyes of the gods. Only laws and the tribunal can judge someone. They can judge even me, so praise my magnificence and purity. Furina claims to be magnificent and pure, yet she still gets sentenced to death. And what is interesting to know that during the 4.0 Archon quest, Childe mentions that it is rumored that the death sentence exists in Fontaine. But for all of these years, no one has ever gotten it. So why is Focalor getting the death sentence now? We know that the prophecy will happen, and that it has to happen, and up until now everything in Fontaine has been all about theatrics and performances, putting on a show. Everything has been an act. We also just got Furina's character teaser in which she also says that only fate will not deceive you, unless you can first deceive fate itself. And when Furina was first drip marketed, we had this voice line from Nicole, which I'll talk about in a little bit, hold on. One lie always follows another, and so justice awaits inescapably at the end. The ignorant see this as some kind of farce, but if they trace back to the source, they inevitably realize that they began by deceiving themselves. We hear voice lines from people in Fontaine saying, Focalor, why did you deceive us? And Nuvillet saying, you're a devious one, Focalor. Again, he's saying Focalor and not Lady Furina, like he usually does. So has Focalor just been deceiving everyone, perhaps even herself, so that she can then deceive fate and have the prophecy happen, or trick fate into believing that the prophecy is going to happen, or that it has happened, and in this way protect Fontaine? My brain is also not braining anymore. But going back to Furina and the Gnosis, in the 4.1 Archon quest we had Arlecchino confirm that the Gnosis is not held by Furina, and that she also doesn't seem like a real god, and further saying that she appears to be under some kind of curse, or that's at least what she sensed. Again, this also supports the idea that Focalor is separated from Furina, or Focalor separated the human part of herself from the part connected to godhood and Celestia. And as for what this curse may be, perhaps she was cursed to be exiled and left in solitude. Her title is Endless Solo of Solitude, and the trailer was released with this line: Now that my magic is spent, please, O Judge, lift the chains from my soul. Never again consign me to dance alone upon this lonely isle. My last glimmer of hope I offer up to you. That, together with her cries that can be heard under the Fountain of Lucine, suggests that she has been alone for a very long time. Trapped inside the Oratrice perhaps, using her magic to operate it and power up Fontaine. My last glimmer of hope could refer to the Gnosis and her offering it up to Nuvillet so that he can save Fontaine. And now that she has separated herself from Celestia, she has given up the Gnosis, sacrificed herself, done everything she's supposed to do, her soul can finally be free. Please, O Judge, lift the chains from my soul. And the name of her constellation is also very interesting. It's Animula Karagi. I'm probably butchering it. I'm sorry. Animula meaning small or little soul. Karagi meaning a chorus leader, someone leading a group of performers. So Furina was just a little soul leading this orchestrated performance in which everyone in Fontaine was playing a part in. So perhaps what's about to happen is only just a show meant to deceive fate and trick it into believing that the prophecy did in fact happen. Okay, but let's move past Furina and address the elephant in the room. Or should I rather say the whale in the room? Childe is here together with his big massive whale, but they're not alone, they brought a friend. What in the Honkai collaboration is this? Now, it has been confirmed that this person is in fact Skirk, Childe's master, the mysterious swordswoman that trained him in the abyss. Oh boy, there's so much we need to talk about her. I'll just say it. Skirk is the whale, or at the very least is connected to the whale. Now let me break it all down and back up this theory a little bit. First of all, let's talk about her overall appearance. She doesn't look like she's from Teyvat, or at the very least the current state of Teyvat the way we know it. She looks like she could be a descender, someone from Celestia, as she does have similarities to the unknown god, someone from Enkanomiya. Now let's break down her design a little bit more. One thing in particular that stands out is the fact that she has literal fins growing from her back. Fins! Also, the accessories in her hair look like fins and a fish's tail, or rather, well, a whale's tail. And they look very similar to the whale and its fins and tail. Another thing to note is that her arms look very similar to the arms of the unknown god, first of all, like we mentioned, but also it has the same triangular disco ball kind of pattern as the whale's tail. But wait, there's more. As we saw from the version 4.2 special program, during the second phase of the boss fight, we get swallowed up by the whale and enter this phase with a mysterious enemy inside. Now, let me quickly refresh your memory and remind you that it was Skirk herself who taught Childe how to use his foul legacy transformation. And what does this enemy look like? It looks like a foul legacy transformation. So I think it's pretty safe to assume that Skirk is the whale, or she's just Attack on Titan operating this giant whale from within. And now let's go back to Enkanomiya. Throughout the landscape of Enkanomiya, we notice weapons who look very similar to the Hydro weapons that Childe is using. The swords also resemble the giant sword that Skirk, or well, this mysterious enemy inside the whale, is using. And some weapons even have the fabric that looks very similar to Childe's scarf. The enemy inside of the whale also has a scarf in the same kind of similar way. So who is Skirk? And what is the whale? I believe that in Old Georgian and Armenian, correct me if I'm wrong, the term bishop means leviathan, whale, dragon. So it's not too far-fetched to assume that the whale and or Skirk are bishops, maybe even dragons. We also see the narwhal break through the sky. The sky is fake, guys. It has been confirmed. Skarmush warned us back in 1.1. Or was it 1.0? I don't remember. First of all, let me talk a little bit about that sky crack. It also looks very similar to the cracked sky we see in Villette's demo. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. But on that sky, we see Childe's constellation, the Monoceros Kelly, I'm butchering these names, I apologize. Selly? Monoceros Selly? Yes, you get the idea, which means celestial narwhal. So in that case, is this whale an abyssal creature or a celestial one? Is Skirk a bishop from Enkanomiya that is connected to Celestia in some way? I will also briefly mention some other interesting findings, but I won't go too in detail. There is this quest item book titled The Life of Moon, the Shrine Maiden. And it's a story about a shrine maiden from Watatsumi Island. There was this shrine maiden called Moon that was born in the Yuna clan. And now the Yuna clan was one of the first great houses that followed the Omikami out into the sunlight. What does this mean? They followed Orobashi from Enkanomiya onto Watatsumi Island. She has a younger twin sister called Ayame, who was powerful enough to fight vicious sea creatures. Sangonomiya's first navy was entrusted to Moon and her sister, and this was also the beginning of Moon's association with a giant whale named Daikengyo. Even amongst the people of Watatsumi Island who were skilled in whale song, none could face the Titan and live to tell the tale. But that was until Moon dived deep into the ocean and somehow persuaded the Daikengyo to join her. Then they went up against the Shogun together with the Omikami, but when they heard that Orobashi had been slain, they tried to retreat. However, Moon got ambushed and got slain together with the giant whale. But her twin sister Ayame is said to have disappeared among the Sea of Butterflies, So Ayame, who was a skilled diver, was strong enough to fight the giant sea creatures, knew the art of whale song, disappeared somewhere. Could Ayame be Skirk? I don't know, but I found it interesting. And also going back to the whale, All of the gods in Teyvat are linked to the demons of Ars Geotia, and there's one particular demon I found very interesting. So there is this whale-like demon going by the name Fornius. I guess that might have been one of the inspirations for the narwhal and everything going on in Fontaine, because one of Fornius' abilities is the manipulation of infernal water. It can create or summon water from a hell that is able to dissolve human beings. Sounds familiar? It is said that in his celestial role, Fornius' responsibility was to channel positive energies and ensure that justice and balance prevailed, particularly in cases where the weak or unfairly victimized sought redress. So, when Childe first fell into this unknown abyss, his master Skirk told him that she took him on as her apprentice because he had awakened it, and traces of it remained on him. The it possibly referring to the whale. Childe then spent years searching for this unknown abyss in his master without any success, up until now. So perhaps when Childe was wrongfully accused of being behind the serial disappearances case and sentenced, he ended up summoning this whale, because the whale would show up to help those that have been unfairly victimized. And so in this way, the whale would ensure that justice prevailed. And speaking of Childe, we can see him looking pretty rough. There are some scratches and marks on his armor, so his master must have been beating his ass up. Skirk had also told him that his training would prove to be useful in the future. Did she know he'd have to go up against the whale and fight it for whatever reason? What was she training him for? If Skirk really is the whale or the one operating it, then is she going to lose control and Childe will have to stop her? Because we do see the whale going crazy, breaking through spaces, appearing in the middle of the opera epic class. I have no idea what's going on with that. But we also need to address another elephant in the room, the Hexenzirkel. When Furina first got drip marketed with a voice line from Nicole, I was frothing at the mouth because we finally got some crumbs. And it seems like this time around we're about to get a whole loaf of bread, or maybe just a thin slice, in the new Archon quest. In the trailer, we can hear Mona warning the traveler not to get near the water because it looks ominous, something's weird about it. So, I guess Mona will be arriving in Fontaine. But not only that, we also hear Nicole, who tells us that the prophecy will come true. I don't know if we'll get to meet Nicole in person, or if she'll just invade our brains like she did at the end of Wanderer's Redemption Arc quest. Also, her full name got released in the description of the trailer, so she goes by the name of Nicole Rain of the Hexenzirkel, codename N. And I saw some people point out the similarities of her name to the historical figure of Nicole Rain Lepaute. I'm so sorry if I'm butchering this name. But she was a French astronomer and a human computer, which is kind of in line with what Alice had told us previously about Nicole, and her being a prophetess and an extraordinary woman who is studying Teyvat's direction and order. And now here's some extra details from the trailer that you may have missed. We can also hear Navia crying, "Papa, they're all dead." At first I thought this might be Furina, and I was like, who is Furina's father? What's going on here? But no, it was in fact Navia crying. We do know that the waters have reached Poisson, and those who didn't have a chance to escape disappeared as the water levels rose. So what's gonna happen with the people? Are they all gonna be fine and okay? I don't know. We also see a giant clock hand falling from the ceiling in the room of the Narcissenkreuz Ordo. This is the Doomsday Clock, created by the mage Narcissenkreuz, that was made to count down the apocalypse. The clock hand at the end of the quest is just about to reach midnight, so with it falling down and crashing on the table below, it could signify that the apocalypse won't happen. As we did learn, we're gonna find out how the whole storyline ends in 4.2. There is honestly so much to dissect and talk about, but I'll stop myself here and wait eagerly for the new patch to drop so we can get some answers. There are bound to be some huge lore drops in the Archon quest, and I'm so excited to see how all of this is going to play out. I'll be playing through the Archon quest over on Twitch, where I stream 3 to 4 times a week, Monday to Friday from 10 AM GMT, so feel free to stop by. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like, comment, subscribe. All of that stuff helps me out a lot. Let me know what you guys think about this series, or if you have theories of your own. I'm very curious to see what you guys think about what's going to happen. But yes, thank you guys for watching. Have fun, take care, keep smiling, lots of love, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye. Bye. Bye.